right, welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Orick, here with my partner, Sean Williams. How's it going over there, Sean?
Well, it's going better for me than it is for Tiger Woods, apparently.
I tell you what, I to tie this in with the Saints, allegedly he was going over there to play golf for a photo shoot, I think, with Drew and Justin Herbert. So, yeah, flip the car.
Compound leg fracture.
Yeah, yes. What is it? The Simpsons episode, Sports Greatest Injuries, the compound leg fracture. And Homer goes, "Oh, you made me miss Joe Theismann." So that's the first time I ever heard that injury before, too, was back in 1985 when Joe Theismann had it. And I was watching that game.
I was, too.
Yeah.
And that wasn't long after one of my knee injuries. And when they did the reverse angle, which is the clearest one, where you see Lawrence Taylor spin around him and land on that leg, I had to get up and walk out of the house and throw up.
Well,
it was that horrendous to me.
I'm really going to date myself now because that was the fall of 1985. So I was in college and I was staying with my grandfather my first semester, and he still had a floor unit TV, old Zenith. It was nice. It was a good picture. But I mean, my kids today, when he was still alive, they were little, but they saw that and they didn't understand how you can have a TV on the floor like that, a floor unit. But
yeah, these kids nowadays think that if it's not mounted on the wall, then it's not really a TV.
Well, that wasn't even that popular back then. Was the flat screens? It was still, portable TV sitting up in a piece of furniture or something, or regular TVs, not flat screens. Yeah, my grandkids, if they ever saw a floor unit TV, they wouldn't understand that at all. But both my grandparents, my grandmother, my mom's mom, and my mom's mom and my mom's dad both still had their floor unit TVs. His was a Zenith, and my grandmother's was a Curtis Mathis.
Most expensive TV in America, and
yeah. She bought that, and that TV lasted. She bought that TV in 1978 or 79, that Curtis Mathis, and it was still working in 2013 when she died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just for the record, what I said about the most expensive, that was the tagline of their TV commercial.
Yeah, it was supposed to last forever because we used to go to her house for Thanksgiving. So I would watch a lot of those, Thanksgiving Day games. I can remember watching a lot of Thanksgiving Day games at her house. And that TV lasted forever. It was hilarious. Okay, so I'm just learning some of the stuff about Tiger Woods. I don't know a whole heck of a lot other than the fact the news I saw not long before we went on tonight was that, he was running late for a photo shoot with Drew Brees and Justin Herbert at a golf course. And I guess he lost control and flipped the car. So
where did it happen?
I don't even know that. Chad seems to know, or Jerry, something about it was a bad stretch of road, but I don't know where it happened. I'm sure there'll be more coming out soon, and I'm sure they're going to do.
I've seen a couple of updates on my sports apps that he was hurt.
Yeah, and I've seen a car, in the ditch, and that's about it. But I don't know much more than that. I mean, I was at work and then I got home and ate. So, Los Angeles happened in Los Angeles.
He has the worst damn luck with vehicles.
Well, you cheat on your wife, you can get one of them going to get the hell beat out of you, either you or the car. So, I mean, that was the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was an amazing story. Now I do remember that one unfolding.
Yeah.
And the media is trying to. Oh, we're not sure what's going on. I know full well what's going on.
I've
The
seen
only
that
thing,
movie before.
yeah, the only thing was missing was Bad Boys theme and the cops pulling up. And Tiger showing up in a wife beater.
Yeah.
That's about. I don't know what's going on. She just lost her mind. That son of a bitch gonna screw around with whores. I'm gonna beat the hell out of him with these golf clubs. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what it was. That was about as clear as anything else to me.
Yeah.
You know,
You don't need a roadmap for that.
no, 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 no. So, okay. The big news, I guess, if it's news, from Saints camp this week, Zach Strief is leaving the broadcast booth and is going to become an assistant offensive line coach. And they were talking about how they're shifting the position coaches around. I think the current offensive line coach is going to become tight ends coach. We've already seen they hired a secondary coach, the guy from the Seattle Seahawks. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Zach Strief leaving the broadcast booth. Now, one of the questions I had for everybody tonight was, among the various voices you may have heard of the Saints over the years, where would you put Zach Strief right now? Because he really just got started and seemed like he was getting better each year.
Yeah.
But then I thought about that, and then I said, afterwards, how many people on this show are going to know who was the voice of the Saints before Jim Henderson was here? Because Jim Henderson did it for a long time. Yeah. I mean, outside of me. Have you ever listened to Saints radio?
Only recent years, like going or coming from a game that I know.
Okay. Well, back in the day when when the Saints games weren't sold out every week at home, I'm old enough, and some people might be old enough to remember having to listen to the radio just to hear the home games because it wasn't on TV.
Blackout.
And yeah, still had the television blackout, and I can still remember hearing it used to be on AM radio. So you would hear that whistling and that crackling and, all the things you would get in the house listening to AM radio. So my first experience listening to anyone call a Saints game was Wayne Mack when he was doing it for WGSO. I think it was 1260. WGSO might be 1280. Back in the late 70s. He did it in 78 and 79, I think it was. And then Larry Matson and Jim Henderson would do the games in the early 80s. It was Larry Matson on play-by-play, and Jim Henderson did the color. And they were both on Channel 4 Sports, and they would do the sports broadcast. And then later on, it was Jim Henderson would come in. It was Henderson with Archie Manning. Then they brought Larry Matson back, and they had a 3-man booth. And then it was Jim Henderson and Archie Manning again. And the awkward part about Jim Henderson in with Archie Manning and Larry Matson, they put Larry Matson on play-by-play. Archie was doing color commentating because Archie came on in 85 after he retired. So Henderson didn't have much to say. And if you watch some of the old Saints yearbook highlight videos, the only time you hear Henderson talking, you hear him talking at the beginning of the game, when he kind of set the stage for it. And then he would hear him going, yeah, 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 when something big would happen. But that was about it. There wasn't a whole hell of a lot for him to say and do. So when they got rid of Matson again, they realized it wasn't working. They got rid of Matson again, and it was Henderson and Manning. But Jim Henderson started getting offers from CBS, nationally to do play-by-play on television. So every so often, Henderson was missing from the game, and it would be another guy filling in to do the play-by-play with Archie. And it would be like 1 or 2 games a season. He was doing he was, I guess, trying out really with CBS nationally, become a national play-by-play guy. And that, I guess that didn't work out. But in 1991, yeah, it was 1991, WWL lost the rights to Saints broadcast, and they had WQUE, which had just turned to an urban station a few years earlier. Q93 got the rights to Saints broadcast, which was a real weird thing, but it was the first time you heard Saints games on FM radio.
Yeah.
And they hired some clown who does the Cowboys, or did the Cowboys for a while. I can't think of his damn name now. I really can't think of his name. Somebody else might remember it. And you had a 3-man booth again. This guy with a funky sounding voice was doing the play-by-play. Henderson was kind of in the middle, and then Archie was there doing color. And it was just, it didn't work. It was there for 2 years, and in 93, that guy went to the Dallas Cowboys to do the Dallas Cowboy radio broadcast with Bob Schramm, I think his name is, who's been doing the Cowboys forever. And then it became Archie and Jim for a little while, until 1997 when Archie left because Peyton had come into the league.
Yeah.
And you had Stan Brock for a year, then it was Hokie.
Yeah.
And then now it was, it's Deuce and so forth. So yeah. It was it was really kind of strange back then. And when it was Wayne Mack, you used to get Danny Abramowitz, who was doing the color commentary back in the day. So it was just so there's a lot of people I remember hearing just because I had to listen to it. But once WWL went on FM, it was a whole lot better to turn down the radio, turn down the TV and turn up the radio. The only difference is you have a 10 or 13 second delay, which is no, it's like not 10. I'm sorry, not that long. It's like a 5-second delay. So you have to kind of slow your TV down. Otherwise, they're calling the play before you see it. And it's worse at home because you're seeing the picture now even faster than the radio broadcast. So, yeah. David Garrett, thank you. I couldn't think of his name, and Jason Garrett was the only name coming to my mind. And I knew it wasn't Jason Garrett, but David Garrett. Yeah, he was terrible. But that was the brief time you had on WQUE. You had to listen to Saints broadcast. So it was weird. WWL, this is how it was when I was a kid, too. With WWL would do countdown to kickoff. Kickoff would happen. And then they go to like the flower show, the home garden show, or something like that. During the Saints broadcast, WWL, you'd have to flip over to another station, listen to the game. And as soon as the game was over, it was Hap's point after or Buddy D's point after. Now Bobby Hebert's point after, So, yeah. So that's what I was listening to on the way home after the game. My dad's angry, driving in the car, listening to Hap's point after. And I'm like, do we have to listen as a kid? Do we have to listen to this? I don't want to listen to this. Shut up. I want to hear what he's saying. And it's just a bitch-a-thon for, the 30 or 40 minutes it took us to get home from Saints games. Listen to these people bitch about how bad the game was.
You can, several times I came down there for games.
I'm like, it was a horrible game. Why do you want, huh?
Several times I've come down there for games, and on the way home, as far as I can, I would listen to WWL after the game. And you can hear Bobby Hebert disintegrating on the air. You can tell he's drinking. I mean, it's incredibly obvious that he's drinking.
Oh, yeah. Well, Okay, so Buddy D, this is the thing that you're missing now because you don't have Buddy D. Because Buddy D died right before Katrina in 2005. You don't get the characters you used to get on the radio. Like Bobby gets a few of them, but they're nowhere near what you would get when Buddy D was on. You had Sid from Jefferson, who always sounded like he was about to have a coughing fit and he was going to drop dead on the phone because you're like, Buddy, I want to. He go to cough for like 20 minutes. Buddy, Sid, you all right? Sid, should I call an ambulance? You need to go to Oxner? And then, oh, buddy, I'm all right. And then, they had this, you had, the magic carpet guy, you had Abdul the tent maker, you had all these characters on there. And then they would call up drunk. And I'll never forget, I'm leaving the game. And this was I want to say it was 1996, 95. It was near the end of the Jim Moore years. And it was after a preseason game. And Buddy was like, the guy goes, hey, Buddy, what do you think about Archie? And he's like, oh, I like Archie, man. He's a good man. He does good. No, playing quarterback for the Saints. And then he goes, Archie, Buddy would go, playing quarterback for the Saints. All right, Squirrel, you had enough to drink. Just go lay down for a while. Don't play with anything sharp. Come on, Squirrel, go back in the tree. That kind of thing. So yeah.
I went to one Saints game, and I forget who they were playing, but Drew had a really bad day. I want to say it was the Falcons. And on the way home, we're listening to the radio, and some guy calls in, and like you say, it was blatantly obvious that he had drowned his sorrows when Saints lost the game. And the guy called in, and Bobby was drunk, and the caller said, Bobby, that's the worst quarterback performance that I've seen in a Saints uniform since you were playing. And you heard click. Bobby said, oh, man, it seems we lost the caller.
Oh, man. Yeah, so, like I said, there was, a lot of different announcer combinations I've heard over the years. So it's hard for me to really ask people to place Zach somewhere because, most people just remember Jim Henderson. And Jim Henderson was so good. And people don't remember or don't know that people really hated Jim Henderson when he first came to New Orleans. He replaced Hap Glaude on television. And Hap Glaude was like Buddy D. He was true New Orleanian. He had been there since the 50s on WWL TV. And this is 1978, 79 when he retired. And Hap was all about the track. He loved horse racing. So, you always heard the horse racing results. And so did Buddy. But he was an institution. He had a thick New Orleans accent. Wasn't as bad as Buddy D with the speech impediment. The torn, I got to make sure I say this right. The torn knee ligament. That was what he would used to call it all the time. Knee ligament. And that was, Lee ligament. That's, and then Dante Stahlpepper. That was a classic, calling, he called Charlton. He couldn't say Charlton Heston. He called him Carlton Heston. God, he had so many of them, but he would just invert letters and everything else. Well, so Hap was like and that's why he did the point after originally, after the Saints game. So he was the institution, and Jim Henderson was the newcomer coming in from Atlanta, no less, because he was a sports reporter in Atlanta, got promoted, to come to Channel 4, bigger market in this case, because he was coming as, the lead or the head of the sports department as opposed to being, on a local station in Atlanta, not like a network station, but like a, it's hard to, like back in the day, we used to call them UHF channels, like
Mhm.
Channel 26 or Channel 38, one of those kind of stations.
Everything above 14 and above.
Yeah, one of those kind of stations. So anyway, so yeah, people hated Henderson, and it took them a while to warm up to him, and that's why it was Larry Matson in it for so long, because they liked Larry Matson better than Henderson. Henderson was too, I don't know, they thought he was too esoteric in his talk and so forth, and it took him a while to get comfortable. So that's why people were like, give Zach a chance to develop his own personality, because you just heard the best of Henderson. 20 something years of Henderson before Zach Strief came in, and he's trying to replace him. Oh, I forgot. Zach was. Did I mention that Henderson had Stan Brock 1 year?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
The first year.
Yeah. The 1 year. Yeah. It was 1998 or 97, maybe. But that was the 1 year Stan Brock did it before he went on to coach at Army. And and one other thing too. Apparently, this is what Deuce has been saying. A couple other people have been saying. Zach Strief has kind of been broadcaster / coach too. I don't know if you knew this or not. He what was it saying? You mean the 2012 5-pick game? I'm not sure what game. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. I'm lost here.
He's probably talking about the game that I went to. That I was
okay. Anyway, apparently Zach Strief has been kind of acting as a de facto coach at training camp and things like that. He go over and talk to the offensive lineman. This is what you should be doing. This is what, this is how I did it and that kind of stuff. So, that's kind of why they're like, yeah, this was coming. You could see it coming because he's really enjoying that. He would call up the offensive lineman during the week and talk to him about what he saw in the game and stuff like that. So, I don't even know. His Monday commentary, I want to say that started happening in the 90s. I don't know when that started, because I obviously wasn't living in New Orleans during football season, because I was in college in the 80s, in the mid to late 80s. And I didn't come back to live in New Orleans until I came in for a couple years, 92, 93, and then I moved back to Lafayette, I think at 94. So I think he was starting to do the commentaries already. So I don't really remember when that started. Somebody with a better memory than I, or who watched it a lot more, might remember. Henderson, I do remember every Friday he would do his preview show, and they would talk about the matchups. That started in the late 80s. He and Archie would talk about the matchups. And then Angela Hill would be on the show on Fridays, or Thursday or Fridays, whatever her last day was. It's probably Thursday, because I think she was married to that doctor in New York back then. And so she wasn't there for Friday news broadcast. But Angela Hill would always have a doll or some kind of something Saints. And she'd give her a little prediction. The Saints are going to win by 10. They're going to win by 12. They're going to win by 3. She'd always be pro Saints, after that. So Jim Henderson would do his commentary on Monday and always had a joke in it, because his goal was to make Angela Hill laugh. And you'd hear her laugh off camera when he'd tell the story. So,
I think that number one, to answer the question you put forth earlier, where I wouldn't feel really qualified to assess where he would rank all time. And for the most part, the only radio voice that I ever was able to hear for the Saints was Jim Anderson. I can't imagine it. I've said this on this show so many times. One of my most treasured memories as a Saints fan was when Garrett Hartley hit that kick, and you could hear Hokie and you could hear Jim Henderson and the real authentic emotion inside that was coming out of them, for it to actually be there experiencing that moment. That's something that could never be contrived. You couldn't pretend that.
Well, and you're right. And part of the reason why that worked the way it did is the same reason why Archie and Jim Henderson worked together so well. They were authentic. They had a personality on the radio. Archie was self-deprecating, and Jim would say things to Archie. One of my favorite would be he avoided that block like Archie does about picking up the check at a restaurant, that kind of thing. He would just, or if Archie Manning would say, "This is about time for a turnover, boys," and sure enough, they get one. And Jim Henderson would say, "If anybody knows when a turnover is about to happen, Archie Manning knows that." That kind of thing. So they had a good repertoire. They had a good thing. And then you take that out. That's why Stan Brock didn't work. But you put in a guy like like Hokie Gajan, who's about as country as can be. And he'd have these sayings. Jim Henderson would say something, and Archie would say, Hokie would say, Drew Brees fit that ball through a knothole, or he could go rabbit hunting with a hammer. He's so fast. So I mean that's what really made all that work, he
told him one day. He said they were talking about how fast I want to say Pierre Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Henderson made reference to the fact, I think the way that he worded it was, he has deceptive speed. And he kind of, to throw it to Hokie, he said, kind of like you when you played. He said, yeah, I had deceptive speed. People didn't realize that a professional football player could be that slow.
Well, it always reminded me of, Walt Garrison. When he was playing with the Dallas Cowboys, he would talk. He sounded a lot like Hokie. And Walt Garrison would say things like, "If you needed a yard, I got you a yard. You needed 3 yards, I got you a yard." So it was that kind of joke. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what. Something on fire. But that's why those combos work so well. And I think Zach and Deuce will kind of get to that level. So it's going to be interesting to see who they get to replace him. The 2 names I keep hearing the most, Mike Haas, who is right now doing things in the stadium for the Saints. He was a longtime Channel 4, WWL TV sportscaster. It's somebody who I wanted to replace Jim Henderson before Zach came on board, because I like Mike that well. I think he's that good. And the other name I keep hearing a lot is Joel Meyer, the guy who does the Pelicans games right now. The problem with Joel, I think, coming over is he would be doing basketball and football at the same time for a couple of months. So that's the challenge. Yeah, Haas Communication, Mike Haas Communication. I don't know how many of you guys know this or not, but Chris Myers, the broadcaster for ESPN, not ESPN, I'm sorry, Fox. Chris Myers was also a WWL TV sportscaster before he went national. So, there's been quite a few. What I was saying right before you ran off was that the 2 names I'm hearing right now to replace Zach Strief are Mike Haas, who used to be a Channel 4 sportscaster. He has Haas Communications, and he currently does things during the Saints game in the stadium. So he could be one of them. And the other name I keep hearing is Joel Meyer, who's the voice of the Pelicans. But the problem I can see with the Pelicans is, Joel is, he's doing Pelicans games and Saints games around the same time all the time. They could work out something, for those couple of months. But yeah, that would be a bit of a challenge for Joel. But Joel's done the preseason games on Channel 4, or now it's Cox Sports. Sorry, for Cox Sports. He's done the preseason games, so you get you have heard Joel call games before, and he's really good.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here.
When the Saints play their preseason games, they broadcast them on the local Fox affiliate here, and I'm wanting to say that it's the WWL broadcast.
Well, it's Cox Sports now. Cox has the rights to all the preseason games.
Okay.
Years ago, it was WWL Sports that did it.
I love the way that they've done it in recent years, because one year they had Vilma before he went to ESPN. One year they had Swilling. I forget who the other one was. But usually they have a former player that does
they had the right tackle. The right tackle from the Super Bowl team. John Sitchcomb. Sitchcomb's been doing it for a long, long time. In fact, Sitchcomb gave Zach Strief some grief. He says, "Yep, once again, you follow in my footsteps," because Strief, of course, replaced Sitchcomb when Sitchcomb retired. But yeah. So
Curtis Lofton, that's who the other one was. Curtis Lofton.
Okay, those guys have been on. Yeah, they've been on the pregame and postgame, the halftime.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about.
Okay, all right, yeah. They've had Swilling
in the studio.
Yes, they've had Swilling. They've had Lofton, and Channel Channel 6 WDSU has Jim Mora in there. So Jim Moore is always good. Jim Moore is always good for that.
Coach Moore?
Yeah.
Or Young?
Coach, no, the big one, the old one.
I'd be scared for him, man, because he always looks like he's turn around too fast from a nervous breakdown.
Jim, that's the his last meltdown he ever had about the Saints was back in 2017 when they lost the first 2 games of the season. And Strief, or the one of the sports guys on Channel 6 said, what do you think the season's over with? And Jim Moore looked over at him because it went 0-2, and the odds of going to the playoffs after an 0-2 start. And that's the clip you hear now of Jim Moore going, "I hate to hear that." He says, "You're telling the coaches with there's 14 games left, the season's done, all this stuff. There's so many things that can happen." Of course, they ended up making the playoffs that year. But, Jim Moore he has it in him, too, to do these things. And it's always funny because you can see the other guys kind of like, "Oh, shit, what did we just do?" And they're live. So it's not like, "Oh, we should go to commercial." Yeah. It's funny. It really is. He still has it in him. The man's in his 70s, and he's still Mount Moore, can still blow up. Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny. And that's what we're talking about, Jerry. We'll see who it's going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be Mike Haas, but Joel Meyer is the other name I keep hearing a lot of. So we'll see who it is. I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, guys. I just had something a second ago. When you start talking about Jim Moore, it threw me off. It'll come back to me. All right. So.
Oh, by the way, we were correct with our forecast that what's his name from Philly, Wentz.
Oh yeah. He went to the Colts. Now I remember my train of thought. Okay. So the Panthers are trying to get rid of Teddy Bridgewater like he's a bad rash. I mean, they really are. Bridgewater supposedly stopped following on social media, and every single quarterback opportunity, the Panthers are like right in the middle of it. And that you mentioned Carson Wentz. The Colts make the big trade. They get Carson Wentz. Wentz is thrilled because he gets to be reunited with his former coach.
Right.
Because Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach of the Eagles in the Super Bowl year. So Wentz is looking at this as like, I'm going to be born again. I'm going to get back in the system that I know is going to be successful. This is a good team, a playoff quality team. So this will be interesting to see. But we heard after that trade was done, that the Panthers actually offered the Eagles more for Wentz, and the Eagles turned him down because Wentz says pretty much it was the Colts and nobody. Now we're hearing more and more they want to get they're going to do whatever it takes to get Deshaun Watson, which makes sense from Carolina's perspective because Carolina, of course, Watson is a Clemson alum. They can't wait to get him. How would you feel about, one last thing. Allegedly, they are willing to offer, well, I shouldn't say this. This was somebody's idea of a fair trade for, I want to make sure I name everybody that's involved in this trade. Okay. Come on, where is it? I can't find it. I thought it was Peter King. I thought it might have been Pete Briscoe. Okay, here it is. This might be it. All right. So here it is. Peter King's proposal. If I look for it, I'd find it. 7-for-1 deal. Okay. It would be Christian McCaffrey, Teddy Bridgewater, Robbie Anderson, the receiver, a first round and second round picks in 2021, a first round pick in 2022, and a third round pick in 2023. And be open to sending pass rusher Brian Burns as part of the deal to go to Houston in exchange for Deshaun Watson. I said if I saw that deal, that Mike Lynn, the former Vikings general manager who made the Herschel Walker deal, would finally be off the hook for making the worst deal in the history of the NFL. That's just amazing. But Carolina is getting desperate now. They're willing to make this move, and I have a feeling that Watson's coming to Carolina. How do you feel about this?
Well, first of all, that proposal is absolutely asinine. It's probably. Okay.
You all right?
Yeah. Short cord. It's probably appropriate for what the Texans think that he's worth. Or what? Well, maybe not what he's worth, but what they can get for him.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to fleece somebody to get him off their hands.
Absolutely. And the story I saw in the rumor mill, of course, only 3 teams are in that are the kind of teams, because Deshaun Watson has to approve any trade. He's got a no trade clause. Only 3 teams are on Deshaun Watson's radar. And it's the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Panthers. And the Jets, obviously, because they've got a lot of draft capital, and they've got a new coach, and they've got a lot of positive things that could happen for a guy like him. The Dolphins are a strange one because I'm not sure why the Dolphins are going to make this move unless they really don't think that Tua is a franchise quarterback and they feel like they made a mistake and want to move on from him. And they'd rather get a proven quarterback because they feel like they're that close to making a run,
Yeah.
But Carolina, because of the Clemson connection, Carolina is willing to go all out. And Joe Brady's got an axe to grind against Sean Payton. He really, really does. And he would love to dominate this division. He looks at the NFC South as being wide open because Drew is going to retire eventually. We don't know when. We're assuming this year, but we're not sure yet because it hasn't been announced. Atlanta's going to go full rebuild. And Tampa may have won a Super Bowl, but how long is Brady really going to be there? And how much of this was the Bucks just happened to peak at the right time? Just like the Giants did in 2011, peak at the right time and win a Super Bowl. So that there's a bit of that feeling too.
The Buccaneers actually have a number of question marks they're going to have to be seen to in terms of contracts, because you got like Levante David, very key pieces to that run that they made at the end of the season and in the postseason. The kid from LSU, Fournette. Those were the two that stuck out on that list the most to me, but it's like 8 players.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just how much of this was just things falling into place just right. I mean, we've talked about this over and over again, but the turnovers in the Saints game, you don't turn the ball over like that. Maybe they don't make the Super Bowl. You got the Redskins or the Washington football team as your first playoff opponent. You didn't have to go to Seattle. You didn't have to go to the Rams. So it's just there's a lot of things that fell just right for them this year, and it's not to say they didn't deserve to win. I'm just saying that there were some things that they just peaked at the right time. It's the best way I can put it, and that's the difference. But so Carolina is looking at this in terms of, okay, we got a shot to make a move, but you make a move like this, you're taking away your best weapon at running back, Christian McCaffrey. You're getting rid of your best deep threat receiver, Robbie Anderson. And you're getting rid of top draft pick, your first and second round pick this year, and a first round pick the following year, as well as a third round pick. So those are all, top 100 picks that you're giving up. And then you throw in your best pass rusher. How is this going to work out for him? I just don't see that happening. I really don't. Because I think that's just way too much for way more than what the Panthers are willing to give up. I think the Panthers are willing to give up a pass rusher and draft picks. But I can't see them giving up Christian McCaffrey and eating that contract. They're desperately trying to get rid of Teddy Bridgewater, so that's something else. But I can't see him getting rid of Robbie Anderson either.
No.
Because
you're not accomplishing a whole lot if you're willing to part with all these people and just create holes that you have to fill with
fewer draft picks.
Yeah.
You're missing top draft picks where you get those kind of players. It's Christian McCaffrey can't be the kind of guy you want to get rid of because you want to change to a power running game. I just can't see that. But
if you get rid of McCaffrey, as you said, the best offensive weapon that you have, what do you do then?
Yeah.
Because especially if you trade away all these draft picks, you're getting in this draft, you're basically the best that you can hope for is going to be a project player in the third round.
Right. So what are you talking about doing now? You're talking about changing your offensive philosophy. I know I know that Brady is a lot like Peyton, that same kind of philosophy, that aggressive offense, but he's going to want a bell cow back. I mean, I guess you feel like McCaffrey's just going to get too beat up now to be an every down back. You can get somebody just like him as a third down back, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, but I do think that Carolina is desperate enough to make a move like that because they think that'll just be the upside. Plus, you have a young Baylor coach who wants to run an aggressive offense. They want to get people in the stands. They want to be successful. I think they can pull this off. It'll be an amazing move if they do.
Yeah, it'll absolutely be blockbuster if they can put the deal together. But
I think
after that, what happens?
I think Houston gets the better end of the deal.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Houston gets a new quarterback in the draft. I think Houston gets to rebuild their team pretty quickly and pretty cheaply. Plus, they get pieces that they can use right now to win games. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater will win you games. You just got to realize his limitations
and work within them.
Yes,
just like 2 years ago here, when Breeze went down in Los Angeles, you changed the playbook. You worked within his limitations, and you adapted what you were doing to what you had.
Yep.
And the result was a 5-0 run.
Yep. With the defense carrying you and a lot of positive running plays, a good running game really carrying you. Absolutely. And I think Houston could do that with a Bridgewater. But I don't know if that's not going to get you the playoffs, but it's going to have you win some games and be competitive while you build the team. And he's kind of can be your, like what we said here, if Bridgewater was going to be a successor to Breeze when Bridgewater was here, he's the guy, your bridge quarterback, to pardon him, no pun intended, but your bridge between your last franchise quarterback and your next franchise quarterback. That's what Teddy can do for you. Last thing, and then I wanted to talk a little bit, since we've been going around, wanted to break down the positions by grade each position from the 2020 Saints team and where we could get an upgrade. I felt a sneeze coming on. I'm sorry, guys. The Seattle Seahawks said, well, first, back up a little bit. Russell Wilson said that, my offensive line has sucked since our Super Bowl years. I'm tired of getting beat up out here. I want out of here. Or I want changes made. And so the rumor mill started, Russell Wilson wants to go. What would he be worth? And Seattle said, no, he's not on the trade block. We're not going to trade him. And after a while of that, then we get, okay, Russell Wilson's available for trade for 3 first-round picks. Would you make that trade? Would you, if you were the Saints, would you trade 3 first-rounders for Russell Wilson?
Not today, not tomorrow, not the day after that. Hell to the no.
I can't see trading 3 first-rounders. I can see trading 2.
Yeah.
And a player, but not like a not like a Demario Davis or Alvin Kamara or Michael Thomas kind of player. I could see trading a McCoy, maybe, the center. along with 2 first-round picks for Russell Wilson because he's young enough still. You know what you're going to get with him. You kind of have your replacement in-house anyway for McCoy with Ruiz moving over to center. I could see doing something like that because Russell Wilson clearly is a franchise quarterback. Seattle's not winning without Russell Wilson. And I think Russell Wilson with Alvin Kamara would be incredible. I think Russell Wilson throwing to Michael Thomas would be incredible. I think he gets much better protection with the Saints and working with a guy like Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael. So, yes, that would be a very tempted. Yeah, give him Davenport. I was thinking offensive lineman, and I was just trying to think of an offensive line. I know people right away are screaming, Pete, give him Pete. Give it Pete, and I know that. I know, but I wanted to pick a name that wasn't quite so obvious. Plus, you take kind of a salary cap hit by getting rid of Pete. I think McCoy would be appealing to them because McCoy is still on a rookie contract. But that would be, I mean, I can't see the Saints making a move like that. And that leads us to the question of the night. That we're going to get into with about 10 minutes left in the show. I can't see them making that trade because the Saints seem to be happy with the quarterbacks they have in house, and we still don't know officially whether or not Drew Brees is retiring. We're all assuming that, but anyway. Let's look at the quarterback position then. How would you grade the quarterback position this past year?
Erratic.
Okay. If you had to assign a letter grade to it, though.
Oh, a letter grade?
Yeah.
I would give it a W for what in the hell was that? It started off well enough. Breeze gets dinged up, and then Breeze really gets hurt. Mm-hmm. And to be completely honest, the quarterback position from that point until the playoff loss was never the same, in my opinion. You had Taysom Hill, mm-hmm. who did, I will say this, Taysom Hill, in each appearance that he made, improved and played better and made better decisions, most importantly. You didn't really have the opportunity to see what it was that you really had in Jameis Winston. Mm-hmm. And I think that was probably the correct decision to make, given the choices. But I would have loved to have been able to see, look at it from, we got to win now, but I want to see what our look to the future is going to be like. Because everybody's speculating on Winston being the next guy, but to this point, aside from one gimmick pass in the playoff game, you haven't really seen him play.
You saw him in the second half of the 49ers game, and then that one pass play. Yeah. He took a knee, of course, and handed off and took a knee against Tampa. I would grade him as a C minus based on the quarterback play this past year. Because I thought Drew started out struggling. I thought the lack of a preseason really showed up.
It did
this year. And he really didn't get to a groove to about the Detroit Lions game, which was week 4, which would have been about the 4th preseason game. That's when he really started to look like the Drew Brees of old. He dropped 35 points on the Lions in a quarter and a half. I thought he took a little step back against the Chargers, but then the following week against Carolina, I thought he looked better. They had a lot of talk about the fact that he was throwing short passes over and over and over again. I thought the loss of Michael Thomas played into that to an extent, We find out later he was playing with a bad shoulder, a bad foot, and then, of course, he breaks his ribs against the 49ers. We were told, actually, the first fracture was against Tampa in November. So you combine the injuries with his age and the lack of production or the lack of chemistry he had until about midway through the season with Emmanuel Sanders. I thought that Breeze looked old, but I also thought the Saints offense did not look very sharp. When Taysom came in, Michael Thomas happened to come back that week. I thought Thomas and Taysom looked like they had some chemistry going. Against that first game in Atlanta, he looked good. Thomas did. I thought Taysom wasn't Drew Brees, and people kind of forgot in the 5-0 run that Teddy had that a lot of the things we were saying about Taysom Hill, we were also saying about Teddy Bridgewater. Holds the ball too long, misses wide open guys, throws underneath when he has a shot, making a big play, was missing stuff. We were saying a lot of those same things about Teddy that they were saying about Taysom Hill. The only thing we had with Taysom Hill that hurt even more was the turnovers.
Yes.
The fumbles. He had a terrible game against Denver. Even though we won, it was a terrible game for him individually. And a lot of it, Sean Payton blamed himself because he changed the game plan on Taysom the day of the game or the night before the game. Once they found out that they weren't going to have they were going to be starting a wide receiver. The Broncos were going to be starting a wide receiver at quarterback, essentially. He changed the game plan. So Taysom looked out of sorts and ill-prepared for that game. He bounced back better against Atlanta, but then not just Taysom, but the whole team just kind of crapped the bed against the Eagles. But Taysom had the fumble at the end of the game, which really ended up costing a potential win, even though you played badly. So as a result, people really have a bad taste in their mouth regarding Taysom Hill. It makes me mad when I see people say he can't play quarterback. He can play quarterback. He clearly did.
Yeah.
And I think that in a regular NFL season where he's got the OTAs and training camp and all that time to prepare as a starter, not as the jackknife player, I think he would put a good challenge to Jameis Winston for the starting job, because I think that Hill has a good shot of showing he's more accurate. If he can get rid of that ball faster and make quicker decisions, I think he has a good shot of beating Winston out, simply because I think he has a better understanding of the offense than Winston does at this point.
What you got to remember about Taysom Hill is that it is absolutely a work in progress, and there's still more work to do.
Yeah.
This is not something where it's like, okay, we've got him ready. The whole time he's been here, he's played so many different positions, doing so many different things that he hasn't really had the opportunity to fully invest in learning a position, so to speak.
Well, he's never focused. He said this. We watched the Atlanta games last night before we did this show tonight, and one of the things he said in the first Atlanta game, and this is a story that Moose Darryl Johnson gives. He said, the difference between preparing to be the starter of a game and starting quarterback, you're playing the whole game as the quarterback, versus what he's been doing, is that when he's out there as the specialty player, all he's thinking about in that case is, I got to make this play because I'm only in here for this play. And I know a lot of people are pissed off about that Tampa game where he gets the ball tipped and fumbled, I think it is. When he's trying to throw the deep bomb, not Tampa game. I'm sorry, the first playoff game, the wild card game that we won. Chicago. That's what it was. He got it tipped and it fumbled, and again, he's taking an extra step, extra hitch, waiting for that receiver to come wide open because he knows this is my one throw I'm making in this game. I don't know when the next time I'm going to be in here to make a play. So he wants to make sure it's perfect versus when you're the starter, you can live for another down.
Yeah.
So you're going to probably take the sack or tuck the ball or get rid of it sooner or whatever because you're more in the flow of the game, So let me see. Chad says I'll give two first round 30-second picks, hopefully, and Davenport Armstead for Wilson. Yeah. So, I mean, and again, I'm one of these people who feels like with Jameis Winston, he's got all the accolades behind him. He's a 5,000-yard passer. He threw 33 touchdowns. He was number 1 draft pick, number 1 overall pick in the draft, former Heisman Trophy winner, all this stuff. But I don't trust his decision-making. I don't trust what he does with the football. I think he is the kind of guy who I'm going to make the play because I'm not living for another down. I'd rather, no risk it, no biscuit kind of guy. I think he's a gunslinger, going to throw it. If I could throw it short, but we might not get the first down. But if I put that ball perfectly in there, we could have a huge play for a touchdown. I could throw this ball deep. And I think that's where he gets in trouble and throws the interceptions. I think he has a hard time when they change defenses on him. When he reads one thing and it changes, the defense changes on him, and he thinks it's cover 2 and it turns out to be cover 0 or cover 1, and he's just going to fit the ball in there because he thinks he's going to see the dead spot in the zone, and it's not really there, and that's how he throws the interceptions. I think he's still that same guy. And so I think there's going to be games with him as a starting quarterback where he throws 5 touchdowns and looks all pro and all world. And the next week he throws 5 interceptions and you're just ready to kill him. I just feel like that's what it's going to be like with him. And I'm not saying that Taysom's not going to do that either. But I don't see I still look at Tampa Bay as a team that felt like they had to get rid of the quarterback to get to the Super Bowl or get back to the playoffs. And now we're going to try and win with the guy they dumped, and I just, it's hard for me. So that's why I'm at C-, and that's why guys like, Russell Wilson sounds so appealing. Do I make this trade? Or do we make a move this year and draft a quarterback in the first round? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if I'm in a mood to really trade up. I think we need some more stuff filled out on this roster, so I really don't want to trade up to go get somebody. I don't think the quarterback class is that great, but I do think that if Jameis is the guy, we have to sign him to a contract that protects us. So if he does turn out to be the interception machine that we saw in Tampa, or if he turns out to be a disaster, or he doesn't work out the way we want it to be, we can wash our hands up and say, oh, we tried, buddy. Didn't work. Time to bring in next contestant. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's just my feeling right now with this. And that's how I feel with the quarterback positions. For the first time in 15 years, we don't know what's going to happen. And if Drew comes back, I'm not going to be upset, but we're going to have to make some serious upgrades at receiver and tight end. And we'll talk about that next week. but serious upgrades, receiver and tight end, to help Drew extend play so he doesn't have to, because he gets rid of the ball so quickly, so he doesn't have to take these hits, and he doesn't have to throw the ball all the way down the field. All right. That's really all I got tonight. I mean, Sean, is anything you wanted to chime in on? I know I see you looking over in the back. You got to make the donuts. I know.
Yeah, it's getting to be that time.
Yeah.
No, just thank everybody for joining us tonight. It's the off season, so you never know what we'll be talking about.
Hell, I don't know what we're going to talk about, and I'm starting to off. I'm sitting there going, shit. What are we gonna talk about? How can we fill an hour? So.
And we always wind up doing about an hour and 15 minutes.
That's right. Sean, tell everybody where they can find us, pay the bills, that sort of stuff.
You can follow us on Under the Dome podcast page on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter by the handles that you see below our majestic faces.
Yeah, there we go. Right there.
Yeah. And both of us are individually on Facebook there too. Thank you guys for joining us. We look forward to doing this every week and can't wait to see you guys again next week.
Absolutely. I'm dying for this damn COVID crap to end. Then Fauci gets on. I'm not going to get political, but Fauci gets on TV and says, we might be wearing masks through 2022. I'm like, you little bastard. Don't be telling people that stuff right now. Well, you're still gonna be wearing the mask even though you got the vaccine. My dad, by the way, got both vaccines. He got the 2 for shots, and he got his second shot last week, so he's fine now. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to a dome full of people. I'm looking forward to being able to go to the restaurants again, not wear these damn masks and all that stuff. So. It's hard for me to get excited about the off season and everything else because it's like, yeah, but it's going to be just like last year. We're going to be sitting with only 3,000 people in the dome, and you're not going to be able to go to anything, and everything's be virtual. That sucks.
When this first started happening, I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine, and I said, man, do you realize that this is before the season started, obviously. I said, you realize that when the football season starts, it very likely is going to be a situation where an NFL football game is going to be played in the New Orleans Superdome with absolutely no fans. I said, that's not football to me.
No, and I went to a game this year with nobody in the stands or hardly anybody in the stands. And I mean, I went to games in 1980 when it was 1-15 season. I was at the St. Louis Cardinals Saints game where we got our ass kicked 40-7 or 40-6. And it's mostly 30,000 or 40,000 pissed off fans. Yeah, I was at those games. So that was not a Saints game. It was like going to my youngest daughter goes there, so I can say this. It was like going to a Tulane game. I mean, there's nobody in the Superdome, and Tulane could have 7,000 people in there, and it looks like there's nobody there. So imagine what's like 3,000 people in the dome.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So I really want all this crap to end, and I don't blame people who don't wear masks and all the other stuff because I think it's all a bunch of crap. Not that wearing masks is crap. I just think that the idea that cases go up and down based on whether or not people are wearing their mask, that's crap. I don't believe that. I think cases go up and down whether you wear your mask or not. That's just how I feel about this.
Agreed.
I don't want to hear that crap about that because nobody decides. There's never been a situation where everybody's like, well, screw it. I ain't wearing a mask anymore. Oh, look, the cases went up. That's not happening. Everywhere I go, you can't walk into a place without having to wear a mask. So that's, I don't want to hear that stuff. The reality is the disease. If you can smell something through that mask, a microorganism can get in through that mask. That's the reality. It's a virus. All you can do is you wear your mask so nobody spits or coughs on you. You wash your hands. You do all the things you can do, but that's not a shield to protect you from the disease. It just doesn't work that way.
No.
That's why you see people wearing biosuits when they're handling contagious stuff.
Yeah.
They're not wearing a little cloth mask when they're handling contagious stuff. So that's not why cases go up and down. There's other reasons why cases go up and down. And that's my political rant for the evening.
Well, the level of fear mongering during this whole thing has just been unprecedented and off the charts.
There's so many things that what I don't like is the guilt and the mask shaming. Mask shaming for people who wearing the mask, mask shaming for people when cases go up or when we're not back to normal because they're saying, well, you're not wearing your mask. It's like you're not wearing the ribbon. Like Seinfeld, he won't wear the ribbon. Who won't wear the ribbon? It's neither one. There's other reasons why it's going up and down. All I can say, and I keep touching my nose now that I'm doing this, but people will get it, but the mask just helps keep other people from getting sick, but you have to wash your hands too. You have to do all the things, and you still could get it. You still can get it. Even after all that, you can still get it. So it is what it is,
Yeah.
So anyway, but thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, I want this stuff to end because I want to have a normal football season. I want to get excited about this upcoming season, and I can't. It's just hard for me to get in the mood when all I'm thinking about is this crap,
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.